definitely a trailblazer. And I think Tag was probably, the company that first started to achieve some scale and some volume in terms of its activity. It's quite funny actually, because Tag initially started the business by partnering with agencies, and a lot of the work they did was on behalf of agencies, often behind the scenes, providing agencies with a more competitive, cost-efficient solution that they could then deliver to clients. And in fact, I think, initially it was probably 80% agency business and 20% client business, whereas today that figure has completely, gone the other way now, where companies like Tag are contracting often direct to client and not through the agency. And, it's probably 80-20 now in favor of direct to client versus agency. So that world has changed. The spectrum of services is very, very broad. Obviously, it goes from, print to point of sale to digital to film to video to content. And obviously, what's key. What's key in the creative production outsourcing space, I think two things are really key for a company to be successful. Well, two or three actually. One is initially just volume. Clearly, you need enough volume going through the pipes to be able to generate, the kind of price efficiencies and cost savings that you're looking for. Secondly, you obviously need a global footprint of some kind, but ideally with, as few people as possible in as few locations as possible, to be frank, because obviously then that's more overhead. And the key thing I think these days is having a brilliant technology platform. So, what you're really looking for is a platform that can run a creative production outsourcing process end to end, and that platform is ideally used by both the outsourcer themselves and indeed the client, so that everybody's looking at the same dashboard. But I think the sort of hub and spoke model is quite common in the production space now, as in a couple of key hubs and key locations, but then a few spokes. And obviously, as you'll know, offshoring is now very prevalent. So, it's just not cost efficient to be doing these things in London or New York or probably even Shanghai these days. But, Eastern Europe and India and other locations are often now used as a sort of part of the operation, so that you can achieve, one, a 24/7 operation. You can always be on. But secondly, so you can offer a better blended rate card in terms of both onshore, nearshore and offshore pricing in terms of delivering these kind of services. And I guess, the other key thing about all of this is transcreation. So, you have to be able to move work around the globe and make it culturally relevant and culturally applicable. So whatever you're doing, it has to be translated and adapted in the right way with a real understanding of what the local culture and local nuance is. Otherwise, the work is not going to be effective once it's deployed. I'll just pause for a minute because I've spoken for 5 minutes now, and I just want to make sure you're still getting value out of this, or whether you want me to focus on anything.
Yeah, that's exactly what we wanted to get more details about, those key success factors that you've mentioned. I was wondering if it's really about you mentioned the scale, so to get the right efficiency and to be able to bring really cost saving for the customers, and global footprint as well. How would you explain that the market is still so fragmented with a lot of relatively small players? I understand, but maybe you can confirm that even the leaders, they have like around 5 or maybe a bit more than 5% market share. So it looks like a very fragmented, super competitive market, which may be a bit counterintuitive if we say that scale and global footprint is so crucial. So how would you explain that?
Yeah, I think it depends on, I guess what you sort of hinted at there are probably global statistics in terms of share. Obviously, I'm guessing that share is going to look a little different if you break it down either by key markets or by key regions. So I would imagine that in the UK, or frankly, even in Europe, there might be fewer players who have greater share. Whereas when you go to a less developed